For those of you who weren't able to attend my local workshop, I have put together a copy of the slides together with a very short transcript. It lasts about 10 minutes to take you through some of the aspects that I covered, and I hope you find that really useful.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, everybody, and good evening. If you can't hear me at all, just shout, but hopefully I've got a loud enough voice. I was in the army for a very short while before they found out about me as well. We're just going to talk through a little bit, who am I? Big question, was I an alcoholic? Did I want to stop drinking? Why did I quit alcohol? Why did I write my books? And life after alcohol. So first of all, who am I? So I'm Julian Kirkman Page. I'm 58. I live in Selsey. I'm married. I have 2 grown-up daughters. I have a little grandson who's 2, and I have another grandchild on the way who's about the size of a lemon, apparently at the moment. My eldest daughter tells me. She's quite sweet. That one's due out in September, they say. I've had an interesting life, very adventurous life. Most of it's been working in the city, and there's a book about all those sort of adventures which I wrote called The 752 to London Bridge. So I spent a lot of time commuting, and that's a tale of a lot of those adventures and misadventures, and it's predominantly misadventures. So there's a lot of interesting stories and amusing tales and things that I wrote in that book. More recently, when I was 52, I decided to do a spell as a teacher, which was quite interesting, with someone who was thrown out of school for being very much the naughtiest boy in the school, to then go and in the mid-50s to decide to try teaching and also be the very naughtiest boy in the school. And I've written a book about that as well, which is those experiences, and that's due out, appropriate enough, on the 1st of April. But in all that life, I spent 40 years of that drinking. So I started very young at 14. Mother got me onto cider when I was very young, as well as my little brother who was 5 years younger than us, but only because she didn't really understand it was alcoholic, just knew that we liked it. And then she bought me my first beer making kit when I was 14, and I started making my own stuff and been drinking ever since, really, until I gave up. So had a lot of experience of it. Put things into perspective, to give you an idea of how much I was drinking. Here's the good old wine bottle, and wine and cider were really my favourite things. And a bottle of wine a day doesn't sound very much, but if I said that to my doctor, he'd probably be fairly horrified. Oh, a whole bottle, Julian, you know, it's well over the limit. Well, I wasn't drinking a bottle of wine a day. I was drinking at least 2 bottles of wine a day. In fact, I wasn't really doing that either. I was drinking 3 bottles of wine a day, so I've got another of those. So at least the equivalent of that, which sounds a huge amount, particularly for people who don't drink, but it's very easily done. Working in the city, and I worked in the insurance industry, I'm still involved in the insurance industry in the city, revolves very much around drink. It's renowned for it. And most lunches are in a wine bar. So you go out with some fowls, you have a drink, and you start at maybe 12:30. By 1 o'clock, 1:30, you've had a bottle of wine each. And somebody will say, we don't really want to go back yet, do we? So we'll have another glass of wine. So you have maybe 1.5 bottles at lunchtime. You go back to work, you don't feel like doing much work, but you sit there, you go through the motions, and at 5 o'clock someone will say, shall we finish that extra bottle? And so you have another half a glass, another bottle. So you've done 2 bottles of wine during the day. By the time you get home after your commute, you feel sober again, you feel sobered up, you feel more able to cope with life. And so you've got another 3 or 4 hours before bedtime, which isn't really very long. You can easily do a bottle of wine in that. So 3 bottles of wine was roughly what I was drinking. And in fact, I was drinking so much, we lived in a cottage at the country near Burwash, and my wife decided to use the upturned bottles like this, to use them as path edging for a little path. We thought it'd be nice and rustic. It was a very old-fashioned cottage, and they looked really good. And I managed to get through 80 metres of bottles in a year, which is a lot. It's about 1,000 bottles. So I was drinking a lot, but was an alcoholic. Well, I didn't really think I was an alcoholic, but after I gave up and I wrote my book, I actually put myself through a test as to whether I was an alcoholic or not. And the questions I asked myself were, first of all, did I drink first thing in the morning? And no, I don't think, apart from when I was 17 or 18 on the odd Spanish holiday or whatever, I never drank in the morning, and to me, an alcoholic always drank in the morning. So I was quite comfortable with the fact I wasn't an alcoholic. Did I physically feel like I needed a drink? Did I get the shakes, saying, oh my God, I've got to have a drink? And apart from the hair of the dog type thing, when I woke up in the morning, I thought, I know the cure for what I think is to get back high again, because otherwise I'm just going to go through this horrible withdrawal symptom. I never really felt physically the need for a drink. So again, no, I wasn't an alcoholic. Did I drink every day? Almost. When I was teaching, I certainly didn't drink every day because I actually took the children away on a school trip. And there's no way I'd have done that. We went to the Isle of Wight for 3 days. So that's 3 days. I was very, very proud of myself. I hadn't had a drink at all. So almost every day, but not quite. Did I drink more than the recommended daily allowance? Always. Because if you drink, you know it's a ridiculously small amount. What's the point of drinking it? You know, oh, you can have a beer and a half. Yes. So I always drank more than the RDA. Did I ever tank up? Not really. Because I was probably tanking up all the time. So it wasn't a sort of a particular point where I'd say, oh, now I'm going to go out and get smashed. I was probably always smashed. But I looked at all of those and I thought, no, I'm not an alcoholic. And then I looked at the last one. Did I plan my day around drink? And I planned every single second of every day around drink. But I wasn't aware I was doing that. When I woke up, I would say to myself, I think, what am I doing today? I've got lunch with someone today. Now, that's a person I know they don't drink much. I'll take so-and-so with me because he drinks, and therefore we can still order what we normally have, and it won't look as if it's just me getting smashed and this other guy's going to think I'm an alkie. So I think things like that. I'd know how much wine was in the fridge. I'd know what other drinks I'd got. I know what I was doing that weekend. If we were going out for dinner that evening with my wife, I'd think, okay, let's go really early because I'll have to drive there. But if we go really early, it's not that long till I can drink, but she'll drive back. And all these thought processes were before I even got out of bed. And then as the day went on, I'd be thinking, right, I've had that bottle of wine. Now that only leaves me one bottle of wine in the fridge for later on this evening. That's not really going to be enough. What if I have that and then still want some more? I'll go and get some more wine. And all this stuff was going on the whole time. And because of that, I know I was an alcoholic because it was dictating my life. But I didn't realise that until I gave up. And we'll come on to why I gave up. So did I want to stop drinking? Well, the answer to that is no. Because I loved drinking, or at least I thought I did at the time. I thought it was great fun, this drinking thing. I've been drinking, as I say, for as long as I could remember, since certainly early childhood. I couldn't imagine life without drinking, and that was the really big thing. I really couldn't. And the reason for this picture here, which is a sort of desert island picture, I've written a story, which is in one of my books, which I've called Desert Island Syndrome. And they're saying what a sick youth I was. When I was about 17 or 18, go on a Spanish holiday, I'd sit by the pool, a bit too shy to talk to any of the girls. But I sort of look at the island and I think, wouldn't it be great if we were marooned on a desert island? Because then I wouldn't have to chat her up because it'd be only her and I. So we'd be together and she looks really pretty and I said, it'd be fantastic. And I think what I'd need on that desert island, and Robinson Crusoe was on TV at the time, black and white, I'm afraid, in those days. And washed up would be a sunken ship, and there'd be all the sort of things you need, you know, to be comfortable and happy, so you hunt and fish and all this sort of stuff. And then I'd start thinking about cigarettes, because I smoked then, and booze. I think, well, crikey, it's going to run out of cigarettes, I'm going to run out of drink. And as more and more I thought about that, within a couple of months mentally of being on this island, life was falling apart because there was going to be nothing to drink and nothing to smoke. And the whole dream would evaporate. So that's how I just couldn't imagine life without drink. And I was too scared to give up drink. Because if I ever thought about giving up drink, I thought there was just going to be this big void in my life. What my friends were going to say? What was I going to do work-wise? Because my work revolved around having drinks every day at lunchtime. It still revolves around going to wine bars every lunchtime. No, I don't drink. So I thought this huge hole was going to open up and I was going to fall in. And therefore I avoided, for all those years, ever doing anything about drinking. So what sort of state was I in? Why did I actually quit alcohol? How did I get to that stage? And there's a good reason for this picture I'll come on to. Well, first of all, I had high blood pressure. I've been on tablets for many, many years for high blood pressure. There's even one point I went to the doctor for something else. She took my blood pressure and said, we're not going to hospitalise you straight away, but you must go home and lie down and something. I thought, what are you talking about? Because you don't really feel high blood pressure, but mine was very, very high. I had high cholesterol. I was on tablets for that. And these tablets, you can get side effects and things. They're not very nice things to take. I had that horror that they're talking about in the papers today, type 2 diabetes. That crept up on me. I didn't really know what that was about. All I knew is that you can have bits of you cut off and things, so it's not very nice. And I was going for regular checkups for that. We now know just how serious a disease that is. My mother, God bless her, died from drinking. And that was a bit of a shock to me, because I knew she drank, but not that much. It was only when I picked up a death certificate, it said the cause of death, and that was cirrhosis of the liver through alcohol poisoning. And I was quite horrified at that. A year after that, because he'd got a rather nice inheritance, my older brother died from drinking. Now, I knew he was dying because he was completely yellow and shriveled and jaundiced and was an absolute complete wreck. And he, to me, looked like an alcoholic. So I knew he was dying. And I had myself a short-term life expectation. My brother was 56 when he died. I was 51, and my ambition was to outlive him. I thought, if I can get to 57, I'll be happy with that. I've really achieved something. Now that made to sound a lot of you pretty horrific. How can you have a life expectation of that? Well, most of the people I work with in the city, in that crowd, in that insurance industry, are dead before they're 60. Usually through drink, it's heart-related, whatever it is, but drink is the real cause of all that sort of stuff. So living till 60, hardly any of them ever make retirement. They might take early retirement at 55 and still peg it at 63, normally due to drink. So that short-term life expectation I was quite happy with that. And I also had gout. Now, I don't know if any of you have had gout, but that's a fairly horrendous, very, very painful. My mother used to liken it to childbirth. She had gout. And in a way, I knew I had gout through drinking, but of course, people would tell you, oh, you can inherit it, it's genetic. So I thought, well, mum's got it, my brother had it, so it must be genetic. I can excuse it, it's nothing to do with drink. The fact that they were alcoholics has got nothing to do with it. So I thought, well, okay, but I was living with this thing, and gout was making me feel a very, very old man. If you went 5 years ago, you took me, I would be hobbling in, I would hardly able to walk, I could hardly do anything else. I was really, really a wrecked old man, and I was trying to teach at that time, and I was carrying my books around the school like this, pretending I had a sport injury, because I didn't want to tell the kids it was something horrendous called gout. And then I woke up. We moved house to Selsey, to a nice house by the beach. And I hobbled down to the beach, and there were all these old men that I got to know, all in their 70s and their 80s, fishing, carrying boats down the beach. There was one who was 76 years old who was going kayaking. And I sat back and I thought, I'm an old man and these guys aren't. This is absolutely pathetic. What have I done to myself? What have I allowed myself to become that I can't even help these people with their boats? I can't do kayaking like that bloke because I can't walk on the stones because I'm so crippled. This is pathetic. Something's got to stop, and I know what it is, and I know it's drink. And that Christmas, 2012, I woke up with the most terrible gout, and I thought, no, that's it. I'm never, ever going to drink again. And I never have. So that's what got me to that stage.